Great teaching leads to great learning. We're talking collective responsibility today. We know that it takes a team to make this happen. We're in this together, whether it's teachers, educational assistants, our secretaries and caretakers, whether it's our learning assistance teams, our community liaison workers and counselors. It takes all of us to work together to reach the full potential of each and every student. It also takes a shared belief that all students can learn at high levels. To talk about collective responsibility, we're joined by Superintendent of Schools Stu Henry and Associate Superintendent for Student Services, Chad Erickson. Stu, we're continuing our conversations on the foundational principles. Where does collective responsibility fit in?
Well, it's our second foundational principle that we're talking about this year. In our first video, we talked about efficacy. We actually had a lot of really good feedback from the schools about that video and kind of the message we were sending that we need to believe that all students can learn to high levels and that we have the tools and the skills to do it. And that piece is critical to the success of our children. But I'm not going to lie, it wasn't all well received. We actually had some staff members talking about how it was stressful, that the thought that all that responsibility is in their hands. We actually had one staff member say that graphic of the hands at the end of the first video was stressful. It's an awesome responsibility when you think about it. And I think that's where today's foundational principle comes into play. It is an awesome responsibility, but it's the kind of work that should be done collectively. It's the kind of work that should be done together, collaboratively with our colleagues. And many hands make for light work, and together we can make sure that every child succeeds.
So Chad, talk to us then about that foundational principle. What is collective responsibility?
Well, when we're talking about the universal tier, Bruce, it means working with your grade level teams potentially to unpack the curriculum, look at the big rocks of the curriculum. That is work that's been happening over the past year and a half in our district. When we talk about the targeted tier, after the instruction, our teachers are the ones that are responsible for identifying those students that maybe need a little bit more time, maybe some extra small group support. Then we look at our learning assistance teams. Where do they come into play? It's at the targeted and specialized tier. When students are having difficulty, we need to rely on some of our other colleagues, some of our specialists, to come in and help us out with that instruction to ensure that we are teaching kids to the highest level possible.
We've seen some pretty dramatic changes in teaching in the last 20 years. You know, I think back 20 years ago, we could probably have 3 grade 4 teachers teaching side by side. The bell would go, the doors would close, they would teach their own way, assess their own way, and there wasn't a lot of dialogue and a lot of collaboration there, a little bit. Maybe 10 years ago, we started to see those doors opening up a little bit, a little more collaboration, a few more common assessments, a few more common planning, but really at the end of the day, they were still going behind closed doors, closing those doors and teaching their classes on their own. Big shift in the last few years, I would say. In many of our schools, I can give you examples of teachers that are opening up their classroom doors, sharing kids, really collectively making sure that all the students within all of their classrooms are achieving success. And it really is a large community, right? And we're talking well beyond just colleagues here, right? If a child is going to be successful, we have to engage their family. We have to engage our community in so many ways with some of our most complex students.
So our guided reading program offers universal supports, and we also offer level literacy intervention for the students that require specialized and targeted supports. And this allows all of our students' needs to be met in an individual way that we can customize their learning based on their specific needs.
I can see it making a difference with our students on a daily basis. I think with daily guided reading embedded into our schedule, teachers have never been so aware of student needs and how they can differentiate their instruction and their strategies for students' individual needs.
So Level Literacy is a program that works with all different age groups in small groups. So we have students coming from grade 1 up to grade 5. They come in small groups and they get intense care with their learning.
It's definitely making a difference. The consistency of committing to that every day really shows in their reading level when we have benchmarked them coming into grade 4 and then benchmarked them again now that we're midway through the year. It's really shown a lot of kids have jumped in those levels and made some real growth, especially in comprehension.
And because they work in a small group, it gives me an opportunity to work very closely with them and to make connections with those children, and also to see where their strengths and their needs are.
Well, I think that's the beauty of collaboration, is the fact that we have experts right here in the building, that if they share their skill set, we'll see it kind of generalize across the school.
It's definitely better because we get to focus on which kids are at which need levels, and so we really get to identify what it is that's lacking or what it is that's holding them back from progressing in different levels.
How are you finding level literacy intervention with Faith?
Well, you know, actually since she started it, I've seen that she's a lot more willing to read now, and she feels more secure and more confident, and now she's reading everything she comes across.
What, love?
Help me.
This is what happens. All right.
Things stuck.
Yeah. And GHDA has very much been a community school. We are a better school because of the individuals, community groups, and friends who are committed to the support and success of our students. The Salvation Army and Mustard Seed ensure our kids are fed. Crossroads Church and Hope Mission provide amazing after-school programs and support extracurricular activities. Chapters and 100 Men have provided money to support our library, breakfast program, and music programs. Reading buddies, in-school mentors, and volunteers come to the school to build caring relationships and support the achievement of our students. I absolutely do think that it is, that all these communities are like Salvation Army, Crossroads Church, etc., because there definitely are gaps in our school, and so these guys help fill it, which does make it more equitable for our school.
Well, the Reading Buddy program really came about 25 years ago. One day I just had this thought, what would happen if I had volunteers who'd come in and work with the kids and help them get their library book. But I think the program, as much as it's reading, I think it's also turned into a program about mentorship and about friendship. And I think the reading is the platform that creates that.
Having just one child of your own to help with other kids. I mean, I was a person who loved reading.
Yes.
So I encouraged
Yeah.
my child to read. And to see kids having a struggle with that sometimes is very, very hard.
I think more of a mentor than anything. Don't you?
And a friend.
A friend, yes. That's the important thing. I think it's a friend.
Hope Mission believes, we want to help uplift, strengthen, and encourage people. We just want to see people on their journey, meet them where they're at, and walk with them and help them strengthen themselves and live better lives and find their purpose in life.
The after school hour is a really tough hour for a lot of parents to fill time, something safe and fun and affordable for their kids. And so we want to make sure we're partnering with schools to provide opportunity for GHDA students to have something fun and something safe to go to after school for those hours when parents are still at work.
And so in the last year, I've been able to just see what literacy does in schools, understanding that if we can put words and books and funds into schools that really need them, we literally feed an entire generation of people. To be in a classroom and see what that does for kids, that's why I'm passionate about it, because you see their face, you see what it's like for them, you see when they're reading a book what it means.
I think at the very heart, people love kids and they want kids to be successful. We all want kids to be successful.
So in our Connections program, we focus on caring, coursework, and community. And so when we meet on a weekly basis, we talk about how kids are doing in school, what helps they need, what supports they may need.
It's school-wide. It's almost every adult in the school taking care of all of our kids instead of one person taking care of 478 of them.
There are different needs for different kids, and when we talk our collective responsibility in a large building with 140 staff members, we should be able to find somebody that meets the needs of the variety of our kids.
We just meet with the kids once a week. I go through their marks with them. We talk about how they could improve on things. It's just a nice way to get to know different kids that you normally wouldn't have the chance to get to know.
And when I think about graduation in general, you know, we're up on the stage congratulating these kids, but really we're doing it on behalf of everybody, every adult that these students have had contact with in Red Deer Public since they were in kindergarten.
It's just something that we do because it's the right thing to do. Because they have that one person, they know that somebody in this building cares about them. And it just flows. It's like a snowball effect throughout their classes, yeah.
For me, it's a person that's available anytime that I can call about anything, and they're going to know who my child is.
We get to meet with a counselor or teacher or some type of administrator, and they help us out with trying to find our way around the school, which was very helpful in my first few weeks. And what they also do is they check our marks and make sure we're on the right track, and they give us advice on what we can possibly do in our high school career.
At first, it was kind of scary, but then I got used to it, and Mr. Lessick and I are now getting really, really close with it. And it's actually helping me out with all my grades and helping with the social stuff.
Connections made me realize that this was a really good school and I had a really good teacher, and I think this is a really good place that I want to spend my next 4 years in.
Thank you for being a great Connections teacher and helping me out with all my high school curriculum stuff that I needed help with.
You can see the success in it, right? And anyway, how do you gauge success, right? But is it, and how is Connections measurable in that sense? But it is, and it is measurable by what you see in the hallway. When we see these kids and they're smiling at you and they stop and talk, that's success.
I think it's important in videos like this one that we're doing is the understanding that as a district, these are things that we're all doing together. So it's sometimes easy to get focused in your own school and here's what we're doing, but collective responsibility is something as a district that we're doing, and all of our schools within Red Deer Public are committed doing this in various ways, and I think that that's neat hearing about that, and that also helps every one of our employees in our district understand that this is part of the work that we do and an expectation.
Actually, I just want to share a quote from Helen Keller. I think she said it best. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much.